Could a child's silent scream still haunt a town decades later? On February 25th, 1957, a simple cardboard box held a terrible secret. Inside lay the beaten, malnourished body of a 4-year-old boy, wrapped and abandoned in Fox Chase, Philadelphia. The discovery shattered a sleepy neighborhood, turning quiet streets into a crime scene swarming with police and reporters. No one knew his name, so the nation called him America's unknown child, plastering posters on telephone poles from Maine to California, searching for a mother's face or a father's tears. Yet no one came forward, and the boy's identity remained a mystery for 65 years. In those early days, detectives examined the boy's tiny shoes, a frayed coat, and a thin sweater, hoping to trace them to a family. They tracked milkman routes, questioned neighbors who heard no cries, and even rode the trolley lines. But every lead dissolved like mist. Rumors swirled. Was the boy an orphan abandoned for mercy, or a pawn in a twisted family secret? Each whispered theory deepened into the town's grief. As the newspapers ran front-page headlines and radio bulletins, volunteer searchers combed backyards and abandoned buildings in vain. The boy's funeral drew crowds of mourners who laid flowers and toys at his unmarked grave, calling him by every name but his own. Years passed and the case went cold, yet the boy's image endured in America's conscience, a symbol of lost innocence and unanswered questions. In 1998, forensic scientists turned to DNA, hoping to match his genetic code to a living relative. They exhumed his remains beneath the soft earth, testing bone fragments, teeth, and hair samples. Each lab result sparked hope, then faded into frustration as no DNA profile matched existing records. Cold case teams filed reports, layered lab coats rifling through evidence files, but the boy remained voiceless. Into the 2000s, amateur sleuths and online forums debated clues. The boy's hair suggested health once cared for, yet his body told of cruel neglect. His brittle bones whispered of starvation and fear, but offered no names, no alibis, no arrest. Then, in 2022, a breakthrough crackled through the forensic community. A volunteer database matched his profile to a distant cousin in a Midwest family tree. The boy at last had a name: Joseph Augustus Zarelli. He belonged once to a family that lived in a nearby suburb, but when investigators knocked on doors, they found only closed shutters and whispered denials. No one admitted parenthood. No one confessed guilt. Joseph's relatives remembered a reclusive uncle with a violent temper, a faded photograph showing a man in a stained work coat. But the trail led to dead ends and shaky memories. Despite the triumph of identification, the WHY remained unsolved. Was Joseph killed by a parent seeking mercy they could not bear? Was he a witness to a darker crime, silenced for what he saw? Every theory carved fresh wounds in the community. Psychologists weighed in on trauma's echo, how a child's last moments could haunt generations, leaving a legacy of fear and guilt. Experts on family violence speculated on hidden abuse, while legal analysts parsed statutes of limitations and prosecutorial hurdles. They asked, could new technology one day unmask a killer? Meanwhile, Philadelphia's press revived the story with renewed urgency. Documentaries and podcasts sparked national interest, but most stopped at Joseph's naming. Rarely did any deep dive connect Joseph's day before his death, his last meal, the coat he wore, the footprints that led away from the park. And no one had yet woven those fragments into a cinematic narrative. That's where we come in. we'll reconstruct Joseph's final hours. The pale winter morning when he boarded a bus with a stranger, the silent ride past empty factories, the orphanage windows blurred by frost. We'll retrace places where Joseph might have smiled, where a passerby might have paused, and where a crime could have been born from despair or rage. Along the way, we'll speak with retired detectives who chased the case as rookies, their hair turned silver, but their memories sharp. We'll interview forensic artists who sketched Joseph's face from skull measurements, and a neighbor's granddaughter who found a tiny shoe button in her attic. We'll explore the science behind mitochondrial DNA and genealogical profiling, showing how modern labs can resurrect voices from dusty bones. More than a true crime story, Joseph's case teaches us about empathy and justice delayed. It reminds us that one vulnerable child can become America's conscience, a ghost we cannot ignore. Each reenacted scene, each expert testimony, each step through snowy streets and sterile labs will build tension like a ticking clock. You'll feel Joseph's heartbeat in every echoing footstep, every creaking door, every flicker of forensic light across a petri dish. And finally, we ask you, will Joseph's killer ever answer for this nameless boy? Will justice arrive before memories fade again into silence? Tonight, as you watch, you become part of the search, part of the promise that no child's voice will be lost to history. Because in the quiet, in the shadow of that cardboard coffin, Joseph still waits for answers, and for the world to say his name aloud, with justice in its heart.